count time going. They count down. Hey, what was going on at the wastewater tribute? Probably do next week. Pat, that was for a while, grabbing some. It was a regular crowd. Got families in it that were calling stuff, and then later next week. But it was like,
When can you see that?
it's only designed. It's got one. Yeah, so it's a compass. Yeah, or should they all kind of counter a table or something? We took one of those bench seats. Oh, okay, dog beds. So it's really truly it's designed for Jenna. Yeah, those are as well.
We used to sit in the coming last year
Yeah.
and Jim slept on the couch and, open that.
Mhm. Yeah, I've
And
seen
Deb
it.
slept on the
I
table.
think they call them pets, don't they? Or pets?
Mm-mm.
Something like this.
And we got two recliner chairs.
And they're more comfortable than this one.
My father used to cool out all his, he was big into that. He was in, they were in the camp, the base. I'll let you know for sure, so.
Yeah, I went,
Take a peek.
I knew it.
He left us for a while, but for,
I know, and then, but yeah, Friday.
Oh.
And then back on Saturday.
Okay, let's call this to order and we'll start out with the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We'll do roll call, going around the room. Tony?
Brother.
Ellen?
Here.
Mike? Here. And of course, Mike, attorney. Myself, Jeff, Kelly, Larry. Here. Josh.
Here.
And Tracy. Okay, and we'll move forward into public comments. Any public comments? I guess we don't have any public here. Anybody want to say anything? Feel free. Okay, no public comments. Fire department's monthly report.
Good evening. We had 18 calls for the month. This year's Rumble was very busy. Staffing covered calls in the village and the weekend event. Attached is our after action report for the event. You guys can read that on your own. We brought on a new member to the department this month. She is registered for EMT school starting in September. Also, our other member we brought on in April has passed his EMT class and is now running calls with us. Hose testing for the engines and tender has been completed. All of our hoses passed with no problems noted. We assisted on July 19th for the public fireworks shoot down in the village park with American Fireworks. We will be installing in the village hall a new automatic defibrillator and a new oak box with Narcan. Thank you to Carla Lang for her assistance in getting the oak box from Waukesha County. We will have training for staff in the near future. Both of our ambulance passed our state inspections. State Patrol is out at the beginning of the month and inspected inside and out of the rigs. We are getting ready for and assisting with the car show at National Night Out on August 10th. The fire department will have an entry and we will also be doing other PR items at the event. At the request of the DPW, we watered the baseball diamond outfield where the tent for Rumble was. On October 7th, we are planning open house and fundraiser here at Station 1 in conjunction with Fire Prevention Week. Details are still being worked out. Any other questions or concerns?
I have two questions for you. Number one, for the public fireworks shoot, there were a lot of people down there. Was it? Have
There
they
was
attended to?
There was a family, so a family came from I forget where, but they came from quite a distance. They get together as a family for that, and they had a ton of fireworks. And then just about the time it was getting dark, all at once here come another family with a lot of fireworks too. And American Fireworks, they had a scheduling conflict, so they weren't here right away, so we were trying to do it, we didn't have the tubes for the bigger stuff to go in. So then the guy that came at the end had the tubes, and they worked it out that they got them. I don't know what time they ended though, because it was getting quite late, and I left because I had to get up for work in like 3 hours, so I left, but they were shooting them off. I would imagine it had to go till 10:30.
So there's some usage out of it.
Yeah, they were actually using it, I was surprised, so.
The other question I have, it's not in your report because it would have, well, it would have been for, yeah, it would have been last month, but our siren didn't go off during the storm that passed through last Friday night.
Yeah.
And Chief Sonnenberg, I know that we had spoke about it. Did we come to any resolution on that?
Basically,
Yeah,
since I've been talking with dispatch in regards to that, basically it came down as a mistake on their end. The person, when they got the notice from the National Weather Service, read it as Southern Walworth County and not Southern Waukesha County. So the sirens here were not set off at that time.
I know that they were set off in New Berlin, which would be at least 3 miles north as it goes
Mhm.
where we're at, so I guess I don't know that.
So I did get a letter from the supervisor up there. I can read that to you if you'd like, or if you like, I can forward it.
All I'm looking for is just something that we know that this isn't going to occur again, because that's a major public safety issue in my eye, and I want to make sure that we have what we promised to our constituents on pre-warning for anything that would happen like that.
So this came from Jasmine Betcher, who was on duty, and that I got this on Sunday. So basically, she says, "Good morning. It's a bit short-staffed in here, and I'm counting as a call taker. But I wanted to reach out and admit our fault in our mistake to recognize we need to set off the sirens. It was obviously incredibly hectic here, 230 calls in a matter of 2 hours, and I know the other dispatcher supervisor who I talked with, him and I talked about it a bit. The only other thing that I can think of is that the dispatcher on TTY hadn't experienced a storm like that before, as she is newer, and with the stack of notifications and influx of calls, I think the notice from time, as well as any radio traffic from them, may have gotten missed. I admit my mistake and inability to support our dispatchers from the supervisor desk when we are below staffing, and will continue to be creative to ensure all processes are being completed. Our staff plays a role in some of the things we are navigating through while we get everyone trained and confident in those positions. I spoke with the dispatcher tonight, and we went over the importance of reading those memos and listening for those weather updates, all while relaying pertinent information such as a tornado warning, severe thunderstorm warnings, and any inclement weather that calls for this type of activation. Also adding that all this information can be found in our SOPs should you ever need a reference. We will continue to train and develop our team to avoid mistakes like this in the future. Thank you for reaching out, and we will use this as a moment to revisit our SOPs and fine-tune areas we didn't know needed focus or haven't experienced yet. If you have any other questions, please reach out to us.
Excellent.
So,
The other problem we had was it didn't go up Wednesday here either.
I don't know if they tested Wednesday or not.
They did test because Kelly was in the office when I called dispatch. So, is that antenna still inside?
What's that?
Is that antenna still on inside?
It's a whole new system, so
Okay.
I think they had problems everywhere I went to, because I heard that when they didn't go off. And several jurisdictions said they didn't go off, I think there was some glitch out there.
So,
I know that one time we had a problem with, it was an old unit or something.
Correct.
Did we replace everything?
yes,
now?
we did.
So we're in good shape
Yes,
as
we
far
are.
as on our end, okay, good.
This is all on dispatch's end, not our end. Because the night that came in, we basically went into, all the fire departments went into storm mode. That basically we're not responding for anything unless it's within our community, because we're not sending people unnecessarily out into calls and stuff. We would until the line of storms has passed through. So basically, I had gotten on the radio maybe 10 minutes into the event and asked dispatch if there was any update on the tornado warning. The dispatcher came back to me and says, we thought it was for southern Walworth County. I said negative, that it's for southern Waukesha County.
So did they fire this?
They did not. So,
It was probably almost after the fact at that time, correct?
pretty much.
I could hear at least 3 or 4 other sirens going off during that time period.
I know Muskego says,
Mosquitoes went off.
Muskegos went off because they set theirs off from their dispatch center there.
And New Berlin did because people I know that live up there around Malone Park, around the main Firehouse 1, said that it went
Yeah,
off
and
there.
their
So
response,
definitely-
you know, and there was concern from Eagle as well, because Eagles is set off also by dispatch, and there was a tornado touchdown just east of Palmyra and west of Eagle, so.
Can we set ours off then? or-
Manually, yeah, you can.
Okay, is that, maybe we probably had an officer on, could we have an officer set it off? Come in and do that?
We don't have anything set up for that, but we can explore that. It's never been an issue because it's always been through dispatch and stuff.
Otherwise, I think what we need to do is to just reassure that if the siren doesn't go off within a couple, you know, within a few seconds of the warning, that, we just notify dispatch and say set it off.
Okay. Whatever we wanna do to get it done, yeah.
So, yeah, we were on top of that right away.
But you said you called them,
Yes.
so then why didn't you set it off? If they thought it was Walworth and not Waukesha?
I did not, I don't know.
I would have thought you would have set it off.
It
Well,
was maybe after the
Glad you
fact,
brought-
by the time he called in, it was maybe after the fact, the storm might have been through already. The most dangerous part of it anyway.
At least you're on top of it, appreciate, just keep an eye on it, yeah, thank
We
you.
will, we will.
The other question I got in regards to the storm passing on Friday night, about 15, 20 minutes after the storm came through, we were without power, so I went around to see if there's any lines or anything that I could see that was across roads, and I didn't see any activity in the village of Big Bend, either by police or fire. Vernon was coming back from Iran, I believe, but the lights were up by the interstate. The entire interchange was without power, and people were just blasting right through the where the lights would normally be because it was dark. So I called 911, and they said that I was the first one to call it in. So I'm just wondering, is that something that either law enforcement or fire would do a roll around of the town to see if we're without power at intersections or anything like that?
I went out,
This was 20-25 minutes after the winds dissipated, so.
yeah, I went out about 11:30-ish,
That would have been just a little bit after I was out, yeah,
and
just 5-10 minutes.
the lights here were flashing. I know the power was out on Villa Drive in that area, and then all the way up towards I-43. I had heard on the radio that the squads had been dispatched to the interchange area to handle the signs out there, so I know I had heard that, so.
Okay.
So, but they, I know they were dealing with a lot of calls, wires down, trees down, all throughout Waukesha County. So squads were getting sent in multiple, they just basically stack the calls and take them as they can.
I just didn't know if that's something that we would self-dispatch as a village to maintain those intersections until either sheriffs
I'm
or.
not sure where our car was on, if they were on a call already, if they were up there or not, or what time they got up there, or if the sheriff put those signs out that night, I'm not. Sometimes it's the sheriff, sometimes it's us, it depends who gets up there first or who gets the call first. And if they're on another call, obviously we only have one car, there's somebody working.
And they may not dispatch us right away in that respect, because depending on how the calls come in, 230 calls in a matter of 2 hours. That's a lot. They just basically get stacked up and get dispatched one at a time.
Aren't our guys off by 11?
Yes.
Yeah, so 11:30, they're off.
There could have been a problem also, depending on what time.
Yeah. No.
I think the storm went through before that, though, didn't it? before 11.
I called
Tornado
911
warning.
about 11:20, 11:25.
Yeah, the tornado warning came out at about, about 10:35.
And the dispatcher had checked the records and said that I was the first to report that.
Because that could be dangerous with people blowing through those stairs.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Chief.
Thanks, guys.
Carl?
Hello, everybody. I'm really happy that July is over at the library because it was the busiest month that I can remember since I've been working here. But that's a good thing for us. I have to correct a statistic on here. Under year-to-date item circulation, it was actually 8957. And that shows an increase of 4.7%. Those numbers don't mean anything to you, but to me, they mean that we are now past pre-COVID level because we tanked along with all the libraries. Our services now include the bottom line. I call it overdrive because that's our terminology, but it is electronic usage. So we've increased overall all of library services, plus we've added electronic usage, which helps our funding. And about a quarter of our usage now is electronic and 3/4 is physical. So a lot of people say, what do we need a library for when everyone has the internet? We're still going. We had, I think it was 9 or 10 programs with a total of 182 people attending. It was a great month. There were snakes at the Lions Club. I left them all there. We have STEM kits here that we received as a grant, and we had some scouts come in and help the kids try them out. It's really fun checking them in because we have to count all the parts. Andy Hempkin came with his honey demonstration. That was fascinating. He brought a lot of hands-on equipment. So what I really wanted to thank you all is for coming to all the different programs, for supporting us, and I will hope to see what National Night Out will be there. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. You want me to start? Thank you, Chief, for helping the poor damsel in distress. What a guy.
No idea what you're talking about. Anyway, here goes.
What a guy. He changed my wife's tire. No complaints. When I got there, it was about done. He was dirty from laying down on the ground, putting the jacket. He was huffing and puffing and sweating, but thank you very much.
I do it for all of you except for you yourself. He was very thankful, so I appreciate that. All right, we'll start in a different order today. So if you haven't noticed, the Jumbotrons up in the cul-de-sac for National Out, so I think celebrations and everybody's celebrations for the work allowing us to use that for the village National Night Out. Eric brought it up there, so thanks to Eric and DPW. Warren did the programming for the stuff like he did last year for us, so thanks to Warren. National Night Out is August 10th, next Thursday, 5 to 8. The car show started at 4. So the car show started at 4, goes to 8 o'clock. We're all pretty much all set for that. We have our last meeting Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning. If anybody's interested, just come and see what we got all planned. As far as the police department, the report, the sheets are in front of you. 3 fraud, 14 liquor law violations, 1 bail jumping, 15 juvenile arrests, 107 traffic stops with 110 tickets, 15 non-traffic tickets, 3 parking tickets, 319 total calls for service, 66 business checks, house checks, 6 patrols, 7 accidents, and 9 EMS and fire department calls. Of the tickets, 66 of them were on Highway 164 or Park Street, 30 of them were on Edgewood. Some of the vehicle inspections are doing very well. Those numbers are on the next, on page 4 for you guys. 37 for the month of July, 187 total with the revenue generated so far. The next line down, it says other agencies was 8 hours and 22 minutes, including a smart call-up that was in, where's the smart call-up? Geneva, out by Lake Geneva. They had a barricaded subject where they needed help, so they did a smart call up. One of our cars went down there for a couple hours to help them out. And that's all I got. Questions, comments, concerns? Thank you very much.
Chief. Thank you. President's report, actually, we'll talk about that when we get down a little bit further here into old business. Other than that, professional public works, I'm sorry. Public works.
Good evening. I want to start off by thanking the fire department and the police department for helping us with the rumble, and for the Big Bend Rescue Squad that had me in there for a little while, because I went down at the rumble on Friday night. I don't have numbers yet for you. I have a gross number, but we're not done with it. I can just tell you that we're right now from the gross number, we're down about $55,000. Friday was not a good day for us. The weather was not great. But we rebounded on Saturday. The genset, this thing is fully operational. I was actually hoping in a way that we lost power here to test it. When we did do a load bank on it last week, we were only running at 11,000 watts, and we go 80,000. So the guy there was pretty happy. There was nobody up in the front part of the building here, but we can run everything we have plus double that. So there should be everybody can operate as normal if the generator comes on. There's we gotta shut this down or that down. We did a bunch of parking signs, took care of all that. We did diamond prep all the way up until July 7th. Did all grass cutting, public works meeting. Did a bunch of e-waste to Frankville. That's been actually a very steady thing on Saturdays, is having e-waste. Did the barricades and everything for the setup for the rumble, tear down, cleared the from our pier. Our weed boom right now is sinking somewhere or another, got a hole in it. I'm not sure how that happened, but we'll take care of that. Pressure wash the north side of the building over here, get some of the mold and spiders off of it. Clean up gutters on fire department number 2. The gutters up there are rusted out in the bottom. So we're gonna get a quote on repairing or replacing those. We had a complaint up on Villa at 164. Grass is too high and there was some scrub trees growing in there. Called the county. County said they couldn't come out. I sent Chuck up there with the mower and sent Joe up there with the saw. We cut all that stuff out of there. We're gonna be doing culvert replacements shortly here. We just got some of the culverts today. Something that always comes up is that why is the road closed and what does road closed mean? When it says road closed, it's road closed. We're not letting anybody through. Fire departments, we notified and everything. There's nobody's gonna have a house in between there. You've got Skyline to the north and you've got Atkins just to the south. And there should be absolutely no reason that they can't get through a different way, but they're only notified. So we're waiting for that. The pipe didn't come on time for one issues. We cut some more branches on Edgewood. Been working with the chief for National Night Out. Celebrations installed new lighting in the back, in the track, or in the parking area. And it's approximately $20,000 we'll be paying for that. Here's something that kind of bothered me. On Saturday morning, I came in at 7 because they didn't get any calls of any trees down. And I got in the loader and went around and pushed 5 trees off. I didn't get a call from Waukesha County, I didn't get a call from any resident that called Waukesha County. These are trees that were actually blocking the entire roadway. So I question what is going on as far as why I never was contacted. The fire department was never contacted on that stuff either. So I pushed 2 off of Marion, I pushed 2 off of Sherry, and I pushed 1 off of Woodland. And these were, actually up all the way across the road. Somebody had gone down through the ditch and drove around them. I never received a call. So, village dumpsters are August 19th of this, and I sent everybody a copy of John's disposal contract. John's has been with us for a long time. If If you guys wanna bid it out, go someplace else, that's entirely up to you. I just think this company's been extremely nice to deal with, easy to deal with, professional. When you call, you get somebody on the phone, and if they miss garbage, they come back and they pick it up. They're a growing company too, but I just think that for all that they have done for the village, and I don't know if you guys know this right now or not, but the Murph recycling plant in Milwaukee burned down. All the recycling stuff is being done by John's Disposal. So they're extremely busy, but they've kept up their schedules here in other municipalities. Just thinking about that, I mean, there's some other garbage companies out there, but I don't know if they can do what John's does. I've had a great relationship with them for the past 13 years. Questions?
Do we bring that to the board to approve that, or is that something?
Yes, you're gonna need to bring it to the board to approve it. The reason he sent it to me is I deal with all the garbage, so they do the recycling and do the, all the accounting for that, so.
Okay, we'll get that on next month's meeting.
Yeah.
And, yeah, John's has done us a good job. And I don't know if anybody looked at it, but it didn't look like the increases were really.
It was very minimal.
Right, it's minimal, it's just, you know, they're like everybody else, I know, you know, tires for trucks aren't $100 anymore. Front float on a truck is $900. 2 years ago, it was in the 400s,
Yeah.
so it's expensive, tires are expensive, diesel's up to $4 a gallon again.
Yeah.
I didn't see it in the letter, but do we have to let them know yes or no by a certain?
It's
time?
would be a contract for continuation,
Right.
stuff like that. I didn't even see it, sit there and peel it all apart and look at it. I just know that when I looked at some of the numbers, it was,
But if we bring it up at next month's, we'd still be within tolerance, within their time frame of
Yes.
getting that, I would assume.
I mean, this Nate, I can call him right now, get him on the phone, that's what I like about John's Disposal, and they've been good, so. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Professional services? Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Consideration approval of minutes for 7/6.
Motion to dispense with the reading.
All in favor? Aye. I think we forgot me on the roll call.
Captain Jay? I will put that in there.
Jeff forgot.
What's it?
What?
Oh,
He wasn't here.
Roll call. I was here.
Oh.
I just need to correct that.
He's feeling left out. I said you're feeling left out.
That's okay. I'll get over it.
Under 8 new business, F, it should be 1,500 foot radius.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
One second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, Brian, our planner, could not make it. And he was basically gonna talk about the floodplain. And of course, that's a little further down on our agenda, so we'll talk about it.
Ben and Brian.
There it is, Brian, I'm sorry, Ben. Yeah. Okay, discussion, consideration, and approval of bills. I will make the motion to approve the bills on $425,426.20.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that passes. Okay, we'll move into discussion, consideration, possible action, contract with Waukesha County for tax assessment and billing. We tabled this and had staff check into this if there was other options that we could go with. I think you had requested that, Tony. All 38 villages or cities or towns or whatever uses the county to do their billing. And a big reason on this is they don't have the staff to do it themselves. And so you pretty much find that in all the counties, you know, like Milwaukee and Madison would have the staff to do their own billing. But the smaller communities like us, and that would just be way too overwhelming for our part-time staff. So, any discussion you would like to have on that at all, or?
No. And there's no third-party entities away from government that would perform those duties
No.
to measure their. Guess it's, I don't even know then why we have to accept a contract every year or how long this is for. It would just be, the county said we have to use us because that's the only entity that can do it.
I mean, we could, but we just don't have the personnel to do it.
No, it's, all I'm looking for is just due diligence, make sure that we're exploring every effort we can to save any money, to allocate to other things that are needed, so.
And I appreciate that, I think everybody does, Tony. So with that, I will make the motion to approve the contract of Waukesha County for tax assessment and billing.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes. I think I need to sign that. Okay. So we will move into National Night Out. And we talked about this last time around, and everyone felt it was a good idea to do. Talked with Chief, and he's picked a spot for us to be there. Ellen and Warren have been working on a side, and I think we're getting that going now, right? And Ellen is going to have some tattoos, and I believe you're gonna pick up some suckers for the kids or something, right?
Oh, really? Tattoos and suckers?
Yeah,
Okay, I guess I could do that.
or I can pick them up, I don't really care.
Oh, if I trust you, I'll do it.
Thank you.
That's kind of good.
And I believe, Chief, you're gonna have a table there for us,
Yeah, well, the table, we said 5 chairs,
5 chairs, because
because there were 7 of you, but I know 2 of you are
That's
gonna,
good.
I
two
think
of you
you're
are
gonna
gonna be
be
working
people
other
be moving
places,
around.
to
so.
help in the library, and Tracy helps with
All the raffles.
the raffles.
You will be able to have
I might have some conflicts with it, so,
Okay,
some stuff.
are you gonna be able to make
As
it?
long as I'm in town, yeah.
Okay.
And you have the tent?
I do have a tent, the chief may have.
All right, I got a couple tents too that we're probably not gonna need, so you.
I will have my tent in the truck in case we need it.
Okay.
And what time do we set up?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock in the morning?
We'll go 10 o'clock, we'll put the tents, start putting the 20 by 20 tents up, so we set up as much as we can then, and the tables for the auctions and stuff. So if you wanna come volunteer, especially you retired guys.
It'll be
Yeah, well, I
coffee
will,
and
I
donuts.
know.
I'm in charge of bringing that on
There you go.
Thursday morning.
A busy day.
Talking about you?
I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, unfortunately, he's not retired.
That's true. Close to having fun.
I was just gonna say, it's still having too much fun, aren't you? Okay, so any other questions regarding that? Hopefully, it's just to come meet us and we talk to the people and it's more of a information and not too much of a complaint session or whatever it might be, but I mean, people have their rights for that too. And we wanna take and get everybody to give us some ideas of what they'd like to see or what we can do or whatever, and we can explain, yes, we can, and if there's things that are gonna cost money, well, we can explain that to them, and that's a kind of a tight issue right now. But there may be things we can do that aren't gonna cost a lot. Okay, so this is more information that actually needs to be taken. Okay, the discussion, consideration, possible action on the floodplain ordinance. Unfortunately, Naomi explained a lot of that after you guys had left to the planning committee. And it sounds like the only change we've had is up in the northwest corner of the village of the Cajun property. Was that about right, Tony?
Yeah.
And other than that, it's pretty much the same as what it has been. There are maps in the clerk's office. Anybody can request to look at them anytime they want. So,
This would have to get changed though, because it says the Village of Raymond at the top.
oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Thanks for catching that.
I noticed it earlier when I was at home rereading everything. I was like, oh, yeah, we need to fix it.
Wow. I remember that on earlier versions of this.
Good catch, thank you.
Yes.
So that one little, small area on the north side of the Acacia site is non-buildable territory on that property to begin with. It's at the base of the hill, and it's basically where the stormwater control systems are located, so, it's not really going to affect any future development of that particular property with that adjustment. Other than that, everything else is standardized. It's the same thing that, we had our, open discussion for public, comments about it last Thursday at planning, plus planning unanimously voted to send it to the board for consideration of potential approval.
Any other questions at all on floodplain?
I know I'm reading it over after we received it on last Thursday. It was very informational.
Oh, that's a read, thank you.
My, yes,
Yeah.
but it needs to be put in motion.
And everything, all the other, no other issues with it? You went through everything?
No, I'm rechecking in case there's more
And make sure you do
verbiage.
that.
Raymond pops up again.
Yeah.
That Raymond,
Yeah.
they took him he had issues forwarding this to me. So I don't know if he pulled Raymond's out and tried to transfer the name to Village Big Bend or not, but it took him like 4 or 5 times to get this over to me.
Okay.
I will say that it's standardized. There's no difference between ours and most other communities except for the names.
Right.
That in mind, I'll make a motion to approve the floodplain ordinance with the amendment of changing the village name to Big Bend.
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
And then we will move into the sex offender. And I think that was turned over to Tracy pretty much to work on, is that right?
Yep.
And, did we end up getting a map?
You had approved at the last meeting, $500 for us to get it recreated, since it was basically a map quest, map that has to have a little bubble around it with highlighter.
Did we get a copy of that?
We have not received that yet.
That was coming from Milton, I thought. A map. I've been talking to Will.
And Will is on vacation now, I know that, so.
That needs to be attached to this.
It does need to be attached, yes. Okay, that's this one here too.
No, just that one, for now.
That's this one, yeah.
Yes.
Could we maybe talk about the wording of the ordinance and get that out of the way? I don't think we can act on the ordinance to take some action without the attachment. So let's get that and be ready to finish it up. I see that Tracy and I exchanged some emails around the end of June. I made some comments which I think were all incorporated
Yes, sir.
into it. So you have before you, the result of the efforts which has been substantial on Tracy's part, and working with and his predecessor. So, or if you want to just take the time to read it, it's lengthy, and then be prepared to talk about it the next time. And maybe I would suggest that if there's some comments to it, maybe fund them to Tracy and me, and we can try to handle those out before it comes before you next time. I don't know if there's any great urgency on this, but when it becomes an issue, it becomes a big issue.
Waiting for it to become an issue is the problem, that we don't have this ordinance passed. Is there a concern we have with it?
Right now?
Yes.
The format of that, the wording?
Yeah.
No, I provide comments as I indicated to Tracy, who incorporated the sense of the document. My comments are already in it.
Okay. So why are we putting up on it?
For the attachment,
To the map?
Yes, you have to have attachment before you can act on the ordinance. Does, with that 1,500 feet, just to discuss it a little bit, does that pretty much take up everything in the village? A good
For
share?
the most part. Because basically everywhere you turn, there's a church or a school or a playground. Ball field, any public park. Which there's
Three
where-
schools.
Daycare centers, there's one, what'd you find out, Alan, one or two, the in-home ones?
There were two licensed by the state. One of them was the Vernon Presbyterian, which 1,500 feet around that, there's really no residences that are in Big Bend. And then the church has an after-school program. So that's pretty much it. We really don't know which homes have in-home private daycare. It would be nice to know how we're gonna find that information from the community.
Well, do they have to be a certain number of children before they get licensed, or do they not have to be licensed to?
A lot of people taking a couple kids, during the day and extra cash, and that's pretty much it. I don't know how much of that's going on around here, but there's probably some, and that would be the 1,500 feet from there also. It would be nice to know.
How do we find that out?
I was gonna put it in the newsletter that I'm putting together.
Okay,
That works.
well, I'll make a motion just to table this till the next meeting.
Are you aware when Bill will be back from vacation?
I think this is off for a week. Maybe you don't, do you?
I think it was a 10.
Yeah? Can we get a second on that?
I'll second.
All in favor?
You want me to call him?
Well, like I said, I think he's on vacation.
I mean, for when he gets back.
Yeah. Better. or Tracy, whoever's been communicating.
I have never spoken to them.
Okay, then yeah, call.
Tracy, just clarification, I've got like extra sheets. Does it go section 10.20.10 to section?
30, 40, 50.
No, 110. I got 10.20.110.
I think I could answer that question.
It's the first page.
Limited. We gotta put it into a formal format of an ordinance, and we'll take care of the number.
Oh, no, yeah, I have extra pages. I just want to make sure that I have.
Oh, that way.
All the
Okay.
sections.
But the substance of the ordinance, the format will be provided next week or so.
All right.
We'll take care of the number.
I can give you mine in order if you want.
If one's coming out.
Okay.
An official one is coming.
No, if I put it on order, if I just had extra pages, but I'm like sitting there.
I always printed out single sheets, so if you have notes you need to put on that, you can write them wherever you want.
Thank you.
Okay, good. All right, let's move on to, this is something we tabled last time, discussion, consideration, possible action on ordinance 2023-02, and it's the court judge description. And this is where we tabled it to take and give us time to talk about this and everything. And this would basically require the municipal judge to be an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Wisconsin. And then it goes on to describe, the other things in there, which I hope everybody's had a chance to look at. And this is the ordinance that Waukesha passed. And to keep this as a joint court, this is what we will also need to pass to keep it a joint court. Otherwise, we'd have to go through a total reconfiguration, basically, of the court. Is that correct? Yes, maybe there's more to it than just that, but right now the court was set up as a joint court. And if we alter that, we have to go through the process of adopting an ordinance that will change it to the single court. We can't just say we lost one of the participants in the joint court, but we don't need an ordinance. And maybe, if I could say some more. Oh, go ahead. This issue is somewhat interesting. I don't think it's a legal issue. I think it's a political issue for you to decide. Our Wisconsin court system requires that most judges at most level be attorneys. So that's the Supreme Court, that's the court, four courts of district courts of appeal, and the county circuit court. The legislature, for what reasons they might have had, decided that at the municipal court level, we're going to let the community decide what they want to have. The safeguard in that is that anyone who is disappointed by a decision of a municipal judge has, per our Constitution, the right to appeal that to a circuit court judge in that county and to have a jury, which is guaranteed by that Constitution that we have. So it becomes discretionary with this body as to whether they want to have that, whatever that criteria are going to be. Our experience here in the village, I think most people know the history. It could be an attorney, it may not be a great judge, it could be a non-attorney, it may be a great judge, the latter of which is probably reflected by there being no complaints. So great judges probably are the ones that people that should know about. And it is correct to say that if we attach the additional condition to the ordinance, we do lose Waukesha. They've already adopted an ordinance that, and I think you talked to the board chair. I talked to him, there was occasionally we go see lunch spot, and he said his board's adamant, and they adopted an ordinance that has only the one criteria, FOIA criteria. So we no longer have that participant with us in the joint court. We should move along somewhat efficiently in deciding all of this, because we have to give a notice to the district court administration as to what we're doing. That may be October 1st, but there's some other things to do, including adopting, it was a court charter ordinance, it's called a charter ordinance, which I think was used to adopt the joint court, because it's such a significant thing, and that requires some publication and some things beyond just a typical ordinance that you would adopt. So, I was just asked that you make the decision sometime. I'm not urging you to do it tonight, but you don't meet that often, and we need some direction to know where you're going. So I guess that's what I want to say. I don't think we can or should take a position on it. It's not a matter of law. I don't want somebody saying, lawyer said to do it this way. It's a decision for you to make. Okay, with that, I would like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 2023-02, an ordinance to repeal and recreate section 1-21-2 of the Village of Big Bend Municipal Court to require the municipal judge to be an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Wisconsin.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Let me kick in here because I think I owe this to the group. You operate in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, so it says section 1.01, some. Robert's Rule of Order would require those who might want to amend this, to change it, to make a motion to amend it. That motion to amend it, which would obviously be to add the additional criteria, would be made, and if seconded, would be discussed along with the main motion. The amendment would then be submitted to a vote, and if the amendment passes, the ordinance, the draft ordinance then is considered to have the two criteria in it. If the amendment doesn't pass, then the ordinance as written at this point is the ordinance that's voted on. Does that make sense to anybody? No, that doesn't make sense to everybody. Does that sense? Okay. So I just want everybody to know what the rules are as we move forward. So there's a motion made and seconded to approve it as present form.
I have to make a motion to amend it.
I second that.
To include the additional criteria.
Yes, sir.
And let's just talk about that for a second. When this came up in the prior meeting, I urged Tracy to provide some detail to that, because we can't leave it so general that there's a question about the person who got elected, or who's running for the position. And Tracy provided some additional input, and then I provided some additional input as to a law enforcement officer and their the need for experience. At first, I would be troubled about that because tribes, it might be difficult to really tie those down exactly. But I came to the conclusion now that if the wording that was added is part of the ordinance, then the voters will themselves, when they vote, decide whether that person meets the criteria that are now or may be adopted by you. So, I don't mean to make this tough, but I just want to say that.
My latest amendment that I emailed over after the initial one I sent, I included that law enforcement gained by a law enforcement officer whose full-time job function is the enforcement of criminal laws and prevention and detection of crime.
Does everybody have the copy of that text?
Just the initial one that I sent over, not the one with the additional information.
Well, if you're really intelligently talk about it, I think everybody agrees that language. So is it possible?
When did you send it?
Is it possible to make a copy of that and provide it to all of the
If I have it.
board members? Or even if Tracy least you have the hard copy, if the photocopy is working.
It was sent over August 1st at 6:41 PM.
To me or to Laura?
To the clerk.
Okay.
I guess we're in the discussion section of the appeal amendment, right?
Well, and the one main motion, how they interplay with each other. And anything relevant to those, to this ordinance is open for discussion.
We need to know how it's being amended, so we're
Right.
gonna have a discussion on it, so it's
Yeah.
kind of where we're at.
Yeah. And I think we got second on it.
Yes.
And no vote on the amendment, but we're in the discussion phase of it now. And usually it's pretty obvious, they vote on the amendment, determines how they make motions, got to be determined.
Is that the same as this?
It's updated. She added more to it.
Is
Any comments on this at all, and discussion?
Attorney Schober, your statement to trustee Lewandowski got cut off on this email. Is there anything else that's important at the end of your statement back there?
No, I think I'd add that.
What, are you saying to this first page? Right, I only printed out the first page because it just continues on from previous emails, so you have everything below that, on the second page.
That's, Attorney Schober's email from 8/1 is cut off. It's not the whole email.
Right, and if you go to the second page, it continues.
I don't have a second page.
You do not?
I do not. All I have is,
This is page 2, is this page 2 you're referring to?
So it's like a different email.
yeah, that should be from July 12th.
I think Tony's asking, is there anything that I would add to what you read here?
Well, it literally just cuts off mid-sentence.
I still there, whether you have that or not, I think that's all.
Yeah, so that's the original second page. Oh, what's a while? I'm just gonna print this whole section.
We have the first part here about the language, so I think we can move on and discuss that, and we may have questions on the other as we go. I like the fact of having an attorney, and you know, most of your courts do have somebody who's higher qualified, like an attorney, than, and even though maybe somebody in law enforcement or whatever may have some good qualifications and be able to do the job. You know, we had an excellent attorney in Judge Lake, and we had not quite as much in the next judge. And I guess that brings it to where this all kicked off to have some legal background, being an attorney. And that's basically why the Village of Waukesha moved in this direction. I think it's a good direction to move in. I like having the municipal court. It's a very good court that we have, the court system. And in my opinion, I think a lot of this comes up with the fact that, what if we can't find an attorney? Well, then, at that time, we could amend this to say, yeah, we can possibly add somebody else, if we wanted to.
Well, see, my issue is, why are we being strong-armed and having to change in the first place by somebody that doesn't even pay half of that salary? I'm just saying, I know they only put in a portion of tickets, but at the same time, they pay a minimal percentage, but yet we're being pushed into having to accept their ordinance. Just doesn't seem to make sense, especially when at some point we may have to change it.
Right. Well, we do take revenue, we do make revenue off of
Sure.
them.
Sure.
11% is what we were told, which is pocket change compared to what the village makes.
Well, I think in the beginning here, we were really on board with this of having an attorney also. And that's why they moved ahead and went to that also. So both sides were on the same page there.
Well, I respect that having an attorney is great, but why would we have to keep changing the ordinance over and over again if we amend it and have the fact that if someone was an acting officer of the law, or maybe a military background that was a MP for 10, 15, 20 years, you never know, with all that background and enforcing the laws and prevention, I think it would be beneficial.
This is the complete thing.
That's the complete.
Well, either way, at this point, we have to basically change the ordinance. I guess we don't have to change the ordinance. We could run with what we have. But I think it's wise to change the ordinance one way or another. I don't really know if I take it as Waukesha strong arm in this.
You know, that's kind of how it seems.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that. You know, it was also my idea to have an attorney, you know, because I agree with that.
And I don't disagree with that either. It isn't a bad thing, but I don't think we should limit ourselves to just that. That's it.
And that, like I said, that came up because we found ourselves in such a tough situation. We had to take and have someone that had some kind of background.
So, I have to take on the bigger question that I have. Strong arming, we don't really want to go into partnership with Village of Waukesha. Is that because we just don't want to partner with them? I mean, we have to start taking a look at shared services to try to acquiesce some cost controls. And I'm focusing in on finance once again. So yes, they only pay a certain percentage, but then again, the courts only handle a certain percentage of their cases. I mean, their cases are only a certain percentage of the entire amount. What I'm being told is that we surpass theirs by the rest of that percentage point. So we're basically paying in for our, what was it, you said 11%?
You said we were told 11%.
So 11% of the caseload is basically theirs, and the other 89% is ours. But if we go it alone, we're going to absorb 100% of having to pay the salary of that judge to now take in 89% of that amount that would have been shared. And does that make sense?
It does.
And we're going to end up paying more, having to form an ordinance, and then this is going to be a cost that we will bear into the future because we don't want to be, in your words, strong-armed by another community. But in my thought process here is that we have to take a look at cost sharing as much as we can through shared services, through any other means that we can to get past the point that we don't have enough money to do everything that we want to do. We're going to start talking about budgets here very shortly, and it's going to be a heated, contentious conversation this fall. Because I know that all the different, even the library is probably going to come and ask us for more money, but every department is going to. We talked about the fact that our roads are failing. We talked about our infrastructure issues coming up in the next 5 years, 10 years, leading on down the road. It's going to be a debate every single time that we have to talk about this, and even if it's only a savings of a few $1,000s, I have to still entertain the fact of trying to go through a shared service approach on something like the municipal judge. And to me, the requirement of having to be an attorney doesn't necessarily fit what I would call a strong arm to myself. It's not that if we don't meet the requirement, then there's no relationship there anymore because they want to have the attorney. But I don't consider that to be strong arm. That's just starting to meet what seems like the qualifications are going to anyway.
Well, maybe we should up the percentage that they gotta pay for that salary then. You know, if they're making us accept this or they're gone, maybe we need to up the salary if we're taking them their ordinance. I'm just saying, like, their percentage of what they're paying.
How do we negotiate that?
I'm just saying, it only makes sense.
But I think too, we've been in a relationship with the village, the Waukesha for, as far as I know, close to 30 years or more.
Sure.
So it's not like they just came up in the last few years and now they're saying, hey, this is the way it is, or hit the road.
Yeah,
You know, we've been in a relationship for years, decades.
I don't think that's how they're doing. Jake, go ahead.
We haven't been in a relationship for decades with the Village of Waukesha. They were actually with the North Prairie Joint Municipal Court at that time, and it's only been a few years that the Village of Waukesha has been with us. The court was originally founded by the village back in the 90s, and we were alone for quite some time. before the village of Waukesha wanted to leave North Prairie Joint Municipal Court, and then came knocking on our door. So it hasn't been a joint court for decades, just to make sure that everyone understands that. It's only been 10 years maybe. I can't remember when that was passed, when they came on board. I can't remember exactly, but they haven't been here since the inception. They left North Prairie to come to us, because they were not happy with the services that North Prairie was providing to them.
So 10 years, what's our relate, how do we determine who pays what?
We take total number of citations and between how many are Vernon's or Waukesha's and how many are ours. And we divide that by the 100%, which comes up to the.
So 11% is Waukesha's and 89% is ours.
Right.
So they would be taking the heavier hit for having to support their own municipal judge, but we would also be taking the hit as well.
Right.
We don't need to worry about their finances, we need to worry about ours.
So it really wouldn't make sense for them to leave, no matter what we choose for an ordinance, because it's gonna hit them harder. But when I say strong arm is because, here, they're gonna do this if we don't do this. So it's pushing us in one direction.
Well, their board has already voted to require an attorney. And if we can or we cannot, I mean, that's our choice. If we say, you know, we don't want to require an attorney, you know, they're not saying that, you know, we have to do this. They're saying you can decide whatever you want to do.
Right.
But this
They're
is what
gonna back out if
this
we
is
don't.
what they're requiring. And see, the ordinance have to match ours and theirs to have a joint municipal court, a judge. So they've just decided that that's what they're gonna require. And if we're not gonna require that, then, you know, they're gonna stick with what they decided they wanna have required. And, there is no hard feelings with us in Waukesha whatsoever. We're working on a very good relationship right now. And I think we'll be able to keep that good relationship if we don't do this. So it basically comes down to what this board wants to do. If they want to require an attorney, and, you know, to me, it's almost like a no-brainer, because do you want to have an engineer that's not required to be an engineer, has no engineering background? Or a police chief that has no background, or a fire chief, or a planner? You know,
Trustee that has no background. I mean, there's
That's-
lots of
that's-
examples.
that's
that go
scary,
both
isn't it?
ways.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know.
But, you know, I think trustee might have a little difference.
Sure.
Because you have,
I work for an engineering company too, and I'm not an engineer,
yeah,
but.
you know, that's something where the public has said they have faith enough in you to make good decisions
Absolutely.
for the citizens. But, yeah, I guess that's kind of where I'm at too, is, you know, I want a professional in this position.
And also they vote for the judge too, because they have faith in that person, that they only have one choice, because there's only one person ever running. It kind of limits the public.
Well, it could be that way if you had the other requirements in there too. I mean, we all approved, well, no, we didn't all approve, but the majority approved to have this judge step in and carry the load until the election.
And I personally have no issue with them at all. It's nothing like that.
But you voted against them.
I did. Because
Without showing any opposition to them, I was surprised at that. That's what it
I
is.
voted against them because of the simple fact of being pushed to have to accept that.
We didn't bring up any of that discussion before.
We didn't have to. We did not have to do that.
Right, and you still got accepted in. I still opposed on my side. You know.
Which is fine, that's,
Yeah.
you're right.
It's your prerogative.
Right.
And,
We'll all have moments that we're gonna oppose something the other people don't.
yeah, I feel that's great, we should, because that's how we come to a good conclusion, when we get all the opinions on the table. I just ask that they all be done respectful. And I think we've all done that,
And I congratulate him at the end of the day.
yeah.
That's fine.
Looking at his qualifications, I would have to say he's a very good candidate. Comes from both the law enforcement and the legal background.
Had a good, really good.
Right.
Yeah.
And he did, I don't think he didn't.
I can't predict where it's gonna go down the road. He may have somebody run against him, he may not.
And he could decide he doesn't wanna do it a year from now, and
That's right.
everybody's gonna have to change everything again, and that's just where I'm at with that.
Any other discussion, any other opinions that you'd like to go in?
I think in this day and age, that the society that we live in, that a judge should have a law degree. It can get messy for us if we don't have an attorney as a judge. I think it's important. Society is the way it is.
Okay, we have, unless there's any other comments, we have an amended motion on the table here that we have to deal with. So I will call for the vote. All in favor of accepting the amended ordinance, say yes.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed. So that fails. So now we go back to the original motion.
Make motion, i.e. the ordinance before you with this wording.
Okay, are we good there with that, then, Mike? So we just take the vote on that one, then, correct?
Yes, should I further discuss under the motion, I guess?
Anything at all? Anyone? Okay, then we'll move forward and I'll call for the vote on the original motion, which was with requiring the attorney, the 2023-02. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, so that passes. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to discussion, new business discussion, consideration, discussion, and approval of the following operators licenses for renewal. The one from Garner's and two from Papa Stash. Any issues there, Chief?
No issue.
Do you need the names written off for everybody knows? This came up through public safety, right?
Yes, did it.
Recommended,
All approved.
okay.
Matthew Bellin from Zanners, Club Shamrock, and Papa Stash, Stephanie Dagfus, and Isabella Stelhausen.
Okay,
And we approved them.
can we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the operator's license applications for Matthew Belling from Xander's Club Shamrock and Papa Stash's Stephanie Dykus and Isabella Stelhausen.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And that passes. Okay, discussion, consideration, action regarding the appointment to the library board. And I assume, Carla, this is past the library board,
Yes, they recommend.
to recommend. Any comments you would like to make regarding this?
Jolene Robertson is a younger person. She's got 3 children, is a strong user of the library. She is a Vernon resident, and we have a 7-member board. We are allowed to have 2 or more residents from outside of the Big Bend community. And we have 2 people right now that are outside reps that are appointed by Waukesha County. One of them may retire next year, she wasn't sure. So then, in this case, then Jolene would move to fill that position. But there have to be 2 outside of the community, and the 5 that are on the library board are appointed by you. And they do not have to be Big Bend residents, but it's preferable. But we like to see people that support the library.
I think we have a lot of Vernon residents that use our library
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So, okay, I'll make the motion to approve Jolene Robertson,
Second.
his library board, yeah. Any discussion? We'll put it to a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
And that passes. Okay, discussion, consideration, action regarding angle parking on Riverside Drive by the Lions, thank you, Carl, by the Lions Club. And I can see where this is needed here, because, boy, oh boy, were they in a mess last weekend.
They're parking on the grass?
I assume they parked in part of the driveway too. At one point when I drove by, somebody was able to park right in their driveway, right at the, it was kind of into the driveway a little bit.
Must have been a big event down there, but, you want to explain your angle parking down there?
We're just gonna set it up on the best angle possible, keep the road as wide as we can. It's gonna add either 11 or 12 spots to the east side of the road.
That's not nearly enough. When they have events like that,
Will you stripe the other side too then, or what?
Well, we're gonna stripe all of it, they're gonna be paid, and we'll stripe everything up here, but kind of waiting on this.
Parking on the east side?
Yeah,
Can you angle park on the other side too, or no?
that's straight on parking.
That's the best way to do it there.
Yeah.
So where is our portion of the funds coming from that we have to pay for the striping and everything?
They're gonna pay for the road that we're doing there. The rest of the stuff's gonna come out of my highway funds.
They're paying for well, they pay for in front of their clubhouse.
They're gonna pay for that, and they're gonna pay for the stuff across the street.
Oh, okay, so there really is no cost for us?
They're benefiting from it, we're not.
Oh, okay. So they're paying for everything? Okay.
Were we able to determine the survey points for the lot line
We're-
or property lines?
We're real good.
Okay.
but what can be done about the fact that they're gonna be parking on the grass when they have a large event over there? They have a capacity of 100, people in that building? And there's cars all over the place.
It's not our issue, it's theirs.
Well, it becomes ours when they're in our no parking area, right, chief?
And
That's
and they do
something-
that. They park in between the no parking signs.
Parking between or parking in the grass?
Between the no parking signs, and I've seen people trying to get their boat or their jet skis or whatever it is, and there's cars parked between the no parking zone. I can't believe that
Well,
people.
those parking signs are less than 50 feet apart. And that's up to law enforcement to take care of it.
We do have additional parking up here that they can park in. So, I
But
guess
there's no
that,
path for them to get there.
oh
One of
yeah,
my pet peeves.
yeah, isn't there a path that goes
No.
down?
No.
There's one that comes out, is that just from the playground or what?
Just look like a little asphalt stretch sidewalk.
But I think it's been discussed before by Eric that if we try to put any sidewalk or any type of pathway, then we become responsible for the maintenance, upkeep, and liability of anything that happens.
Plus it would
On
have to
that.
be lit up too when we're
Right.
testing
I
it.
mean, it would have to
Expensive.
meet
Right.
all the ADA codes and everything else. The village unfortunately doesn't have the funds to go to that.
There's parking up here, there's parking down by the,
I think it's appropriate, unfortunately, it is the Lions Club that has to make their people that are there aware of what's going on, and it's up to the chief and his staff to enforce any violations.
I'm sure if a couple of them start getting ticketed, they'll.
So what I would approach the Lions Club with, and the gentlemen aren't here, but then why don't we come up with an ordinance that they have to purchase a permit for extra large parties? We're making some money and they get areas to park the cars. Problem is, the Lions Club right now is expanding as far as its footprint in the community, that Lions Clubhouse is used all the time. But like everything else around here, we're a premium for parking.
they are very good partners, so we need
Oh,
to
yeah.
be careful what we do there.
I'm not opposed at all to the new angle parking, I'm just saying for their overflow, I'm sure they take steps in their contracts, language to warn about the parking, but unfortunately, people don't pay attention.
Maybe they can make some signs or something additional parking down by the DPW, additional parking up by Village Hall, or whatever.
Or they can put it in their contracts when we lease out.
But I guess that's,
That's kind of falls on them, unfortunately.
we basically, our issue is the angle parking, which doesn't sound like anybody has a problem with. But maybe you can discuss the other area to help them out to direct traffic someplace else or whatever.
That's something I think they need to come in, and I think they need to address it with everybody here on the village board. You know, I can make suggestions, but I'm not the authority. I don't have the authority to do that. You people here do.
Yeah, suggest something.
I mean, it is because, I know, Ellen sent me a bunch of pictures, I think it was on the weekend. You know, it's a great thing that people use the clubhouse, but the problem is, again, parking, and they only have so many spots. So what's the solution? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough one because you have a boat ramp there and you also have Lions parking and everything else.
So we've taken this up, talked about it several times at DPW. Trustee Grover spent a portion of that here on the latter part of it. And this is just one portion of the solution, and even this one was difficult to try to find a good solution to it.
Right.
Because of just the width of the road and how it kind of differentiates, and even if you put angled parking, you get an oversized truck in there, it's going to potentially, limit things. You know, there's all sorts of things that was discussed through to try to come across at least a solution and something that was basically a no cost to us or very low cost to us to get it accomplished. So this isn't the do-all say-all. I do suggest that we bring it back into DPW to work with Lions Club, law enforcement to be involved with that too, and maybe set a notification pathway if there's larger events, so law enforcement can be aware of that. Do a little bit of extra patrol, try to be nice to the neighbors, if you will, but enforce if necessary, however that pathway would go. But there's other things that need to get done. Some of it's limited, obviously, by finance. I know I've talked my head off about that tonight, but this is at least an easy solution to get a little bit of organized parking. Right now, people just park.
I understand this. One of my big concerns is making sure the fire department has the ability to get in and out of there. And, so much, you look at that the east side basically, and that's, kind of seems to me that maybe that's where the driveway is.
So we did get the fire department involved. Inspector Bronk, I believe, was the one that looked at it when we were looking at the roadway where the angled parking was going to go, and he said that there would be no problem with getting fire trucks back and forth.
And we're plenty wide in between.
Right, in between the Lions Club on the western side and the angled parking on the eastern side.
And to ensure the plows could go through too, I know they were talking about that.
Right, yeah.
So I think we offer an olive branch to these people, have them come, see what we can do. I'd rather work with them than against them.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Common sense.
Let's just see where we can go.
So, yeah, I guess we just need to take up this angled parking right now and then, go back and see what we can do on DPW and for the additional parking in different areas for different stops. Okay,
I'll make a motion to accept the angle parking on Riverside Drive by the Lions Club as outlined.
okay, any other discussion or? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passed. Okay, discussion, consideration, action regarding creating a section of the code regulating portable, on-demand type storage containers placement throughout the village, basically pods.
Jeff, I could have sworn we did this like 2 years ago.
I think it did come up with Warren, and I don't know what all happened to it. Not blaming Warren by any means, but
That's not part of it.
who's this?
That's that stuff I gave you earlier,
No, okay.
your own personal
States. So it must not have gotten passed, or,
Apparently, it started in October and November of '21, carried over into January of '22. It went through all you guys, but it was never, final draft was never, you guys approved it, but it was never sent out to be posted to update anything. So you guys at this point need to go through it and make sure it's what you want, so that we can get it posted and accepted as an ordinance for us.
So this probably needs to get kicked back to planning for a once over. to
No,
make
because
sure.
it's already been taken care of, it's all here. Whatever you guys decided back then is all in here. This is what came from Mary.
So nothing has changed, it just never
Nothing
came
has
to the
changed.
board.
It's just, we need to approve it so it can go into its final draft and it can be posted, published, rather.
I'm just looking under C1, it says no more than one pod. My brother-in-law just recently moved back to the state, he had 2 pods in his yard. And that was just from his residence to his house, and they didn't stay there for more than a couple of weeks, but he needed more than 1 pod to move his property from one residence to another. You know, is that something to consider?
well, you know, I need to refresh my memory on this.
I mean, this says 1 pod.
And I think there's some newer people on the board that probably haven't had a chance to read through this either.
Yeah.
So maybe,
I think we need time to look at it, because, yeah, like I said, I was not present, as were colleagues across the table here. We need time to look at this and think about it, and perhaps in most, because that's Larry just brought up a really good instance where maybe we allow a second pod with approval for a very short time if necessary. So I'm sure there's a lot of different things that we can, I personally need time to take a look at this before I make any decisions.
I do too.
Because I did find out earlier before I came, I was looking up pods, because Home Depot used to be one of the ones to fulfill them. And then they got really large, so then they got away from Home Depot because we couldn't keep up with it. But there's a multitude of different sizes. So there's like 8 foot, 14, 16, 20, and it goes on from there. So even if they had 2 8-footers, you're still under that 20-foot mark, even if you had 2 by chance. So that's where it's a catch-22, because maybe they need that second one, like Larry said, because some people have a lot of stuff in their house.
Does it say anything about sizes in this?
Yeah, it's under C on the front page.
C2,
20 feet, 20 feet long, 20 feet high. And I would assume that's probably the size that my brother-in-law had, he needed 2 of those.
And CD8 kind of gives a.
and under 8, it does say you could get an extra one.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking if someone needs a pod or needs a community, how can you restrict them?
Right.
Yeah.
That was not.
Tracy, say that again to Larry.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry.
no, about the, no, under number 8.
8-1.
Under C8, it does say that up to 1 extra pod simultaneously can be determined as an extension.
Or additional.
I just caught it when I saw the 1 extra.
It has to be approved by village staff.
Correct.
Which is great.
Or up to 30 extra days if you need for moving.
And then the commercial side or industrial, they can have no more than 3. Which is under D2.
Well,
But
I think either way, I think all of us need time to review this, so I'll make a motion to table this.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion?
Is there a term of limitations on how long something can stick out there coming from a commission or committee before it's addressed by the board? I mean, we're looking at a year and a half that this has been sitting out there.
I don't know, I don't know if there's any time limit, right?
Okay.
See it further.
I just think.
I think this is very good questions for me is this, should this be put into a formal ordinance format? Or is it still open to discussion so much so that we want to come to some conclusion as to the provisions before we put it into the ordinance format? I personally think that would be the best way to do it, because it sounds like there's a lot of potential for looking at this. would it be prudent to send this back to planning like Tony suggested and let them take another look at it also, since we are going to table it potentially? You know, if we do vote to table it, then maybe this should go back to planning and let them take a look at it and address it with the village staff at that level too. To make sure that this ordinance and the measurements and everything that our new planner would approve of everything too.
It'd be best just to, blow the dust off of it and make sure it's still.
And we have a new planner that can take a look at it and make sure that it's updated.
And what's that issues with the exceptions here? You know, they have to go before the planner. If you have someone moving into the community, they may not even be aware of that, and then to get it scheduled with the planner in conjunction with their move or the time of their move or whatever, I mean, there's questions.
You want to amend your motion to take it back to the...
I will amend my motion to not only table this, but require to go back through planning.
And I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion?
Is there an expectation that the board members will in the meantime also study it and be?
Oh, absolutely.
Of course.
Absolutely.
I will say that this was scheduled to go into section 16 of the village code. So I don't think it was coming as a standalone ordinance.
Well, we would need to form the ordinance format to adopt it.
Into the code?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think the substance of it was close enough to do that at this point.
Okay. Then, we can take that.
Okay, we'll take a vote then, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay. Correspondence, was this?
Yeah, that came this week, is I-64 New State Removal up there.
Okay.
I think that's what that is.
Okay. Did everybody get a copy of this here?
That's been good.
Is it email or should it be back?
It came through the mail. So do you want me to make copies?
Or
Yeah,
just
basic.
scan it?
And maybe Eric knows a little
I
bit
can
about
scan
this
it and send it
because
to you.
you've kind of been working with the Department of Transportation
Maybe I got it.
and the update of the Rockford way up there.
Worry about 2027.
So, we don't need to worry about too much right here.
They come out with those things and then they change them and, that was supposed to be done in 2023. And it got pushed back to 2025. Now I think it's 2027. There's not a whole lot of money with the transportation department. The only thing I can tell you is from Big Bend to, Elkhorn is gonna be all concrete. It's not gonna be asphalted anymore.
It ain't cheap.
What's that?
I said that isn't cheap.
No.
No.
Okay.
There's some other things coming down at the intersection up there, but, I wouldn't hold your breath on it right now.
Kelly will
Thanks,
scan
Eric.
it out there, so they can see that there's no action on it or anything.
Thanks, Norman.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll move on, public comments. Anybody?
Look at me.
Okay, we will look at a motion to adjourn then, anybody?
I would make the motion to adjourn our village board meeting.
All right,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. We were killing trees like it's going on.
The unfortunate thing is, I only got a very small portion of that entire email string. But I didn't have any of that email string today
What string is it?
with the change, the ordinance. I received one email that was Ken Schilber's reply, and that was it. I don't know if things don't get forwarded.
Is there a way that we can, I don't know, is there an email address to the board? I mean, we could, because sometimes like.
There's a click on your name. Send it just
others.
send it up.
Well, like a group
You
email?
set it as a